What's up, you guys? This is Danny B, and you're watching the Trash Stash. And I got a little bit more time to kill, so I'm going to be going over a couple of my Blu-rays and maybe some DVDs too.
Right, so I got the Blu-ray box, and I pulled out a stack, and I'm going to be talking about the stack. Alright, so first up, we got the Driller Killer. And this was the first cinematic movie by Abel Ferrara. He did a couple pornos before this, I believe, and short films. But this is his first feature film, and it's basically, it's advertised like a slasher, but it's a little bit deeper than that. This is about an artist who's living in an apartment, and he's struggling to pay the rent. He's got a girlfriend and her girl. That's the original cover. He's got a girlfriend and her girlfriend living with him, and they're talking on the phone all the time and raising the rent up, and he's painting, trying to pay the rent, and he can't get the painting done in time to pay it, and he's going berserk. Everything's driving him crazy. But what a lot of people miss about this movie is there's an opening scene where he's in a church and he goes and meets this homeless guy. And I didn't catch it the first, couple times I watched it. I was like, I just kind of blew it off like it was nothing. But I believe that guy in that scene, the homeless guy, is supposed to be his dad. And that would explain a lot about why he goes out and kills homeless people specifically. Because anytime life gets too overwhelming, he gets kind of mad and kills homeless people with a drill. And that would explain why, if it's his dad. There's also a nightmare scene where they're in the nightmare scene. There's someone saying, you never met your father. And so I'm basically going into a full review about this, which is not the purpose of this video. So that's The Driller Killer. Awesome movie by Abel Ferrara. Check it out. Next up, we got Robocop. And I found this for $3 at Big Lots. And this is the 4K scan of the film. Not a 4K Blu-ray, but 4K scan. And, Robocop is classic. Everyone loves that movie, I believe. This is hilarious. It's got full-on exploitation. It takes place in Detroit, but it's they're blowing up buildings. I don't know. This movie is fucking hilarious. If you've never seen it, I don't know. Go back to 1980, where it was everywhere. All right, next up we got Heavy Metal, and this is a animated adult cartoon based on an old comic series or magazine or something. And it's a lot of girls with big boobs and dragons and kind of like neo-noir stuff and aliens snorting coke, and I don't know. They're trying to go for everything that a teenager in the 1980s would think was cool, I think. It's a pretty funny movie. Alright, next up we got one of my favorites, Freeway 2, Confessions of a Trick Baby. And this movie is one of the craziest movies I've ever seen. Part 1 is crazy as well. And what the theme of these two movies was this guy Matthew Bright would take old school fairy tales, the first one was Little Red Riding Hood. This one is Hansel and Gretel, but it's a very twisted version of it, where it's a serial killer and a teenage prostitute escape prison, and they're trying to get to Mexico, and that's basically like Hansel and Gretel were trying to find their way home. That's that. And for example, instead of breadcrumbs, they leave a trail of crack rocks. It's just a crazy, crazy, crazy movie. If you've never seen it, try to find it. It's very rare, even this Blu-ray is kind of rare. I came across it at Amoeba. And funny story is, this movie was almost impossible to find like 10 years ago. I had the VHS of it. I couldn't find the DVD anywhere for like under $100. So I was like, I'm not paying that, so I'll stick with the VHS. I go to Amoeba about a month ago. They had the VHS of it, the DVD of it, and the Blu-ray, and all of them were around like $10 to $20. I picked up the Blu-ray just because that's the probably the best version available. Next up, we got Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill. And this movie's awesome. This is basically an American giallo. I think Brian De Palma was like one of the very few American directors to get like the Italian giallo style completely right. Yeah, this movie's awesome. I wouldn't say it's a slasher. It's more like a mystery giallo style. American though. Yeah. Alright, next up, speaking of giallos, we got Lucio Fulci's collection with the New York Ripper, which is a fucking sleazy masterpiece. That's the music I use for the intro from this too, is from the New York Ripper. And yeah, that's it's such a bizarre movie. It's even hard to explain it. It's a mystery where the killer is running around New York with he's talking like Mickey Mouse and quacking like Donald Duck, and he's taunting the police. And they got all kinds of weird side stories going on about like a woman who like tape records these live sex shows, and she gets toe fucked by like some Puerto Rican guys. It's bizarre, but yeah, it's a good movie. It's very entertaining, and I like it. Then we got House by the Cemetery. I didn't watch that one yet. I'm not so much into supernatural stuff, which is why I didn't watch it. But I watched this one, City of the Living Dead, and it was cool. Not my favorite by him. I've seen some other ones. I like Murder Rock a lot, and what else did he do? Zombie, of course. And I watched The Black Cat by him, and yeah, this one's cool too. I like it. Alright, next up we got Bad Teacher, and I found this one at Big Lots too for $3. And the thing about these these bad movies that came out, they came out after Bad Santa, and Bad Santa was a very funny, well-made movie. This is okay, but I didn't realize it at the time. But what they were doing was Bad Santa was basically like a comedy version of The Bad Lieutenant from Abel Ferrara, and that's much more of a drama with like just extremely, how all these movies are like the teacher's a complete piece of shit or Santa was a complete piece of shit. The Bad Lieutenant was a complete piece of shit, but it was like in a dramatic way. These were, more comedy versions of that. So I used to think this was a Bad Santa ripoff. Turns out it's like a Bad Lieutenant ripoff. Alright. But it's cool though. Probably one of Cameron Diaz's better comedies, besides The Mask, of course. Alright, next up we got Dario Argento's Opera. This is another giallo. This movie's awesome. I love it. This is a murder mystery in the opera, and the killer is so sadistic in this. The star of the opera is this girl, and he like every time he ties her up to like the wall, and then puts these pins in her eyes so she can't. If she blinks, she'll like cut her eyes lids up, and then he kills someone in front of her and makes her watch. And there's more to it, but I'll be giving it away. Yeah, crazy movie, very good. All right, next up we got Brian De Palma's Body Double. and this is another like American giallo, but also kind of Alfred Hitchcock style. That's the thing, is he perfected the American style, but he was trying to do Hitchcock. I mean the Italian style, but he was trying to do Hitchcock. And yeah, it's like sleazy to the max. This he's house sitting. He's a house sitter, and he's spying on this girl who does like a strip tease in front of the window, and then so that's kind of creepy. But then he notices an even creepier guy watching her, and he has to warn her about the creepy guy who looks like Danny Trejo kind of, and he can't warn her because then she knows that he's been looking at her. I don't know. It's a bizarre movie, but it's awesome. I really like it. Next up, we got the last horror film, aka Fanatic, and this is with Joe Spinell and Carolyn Monroe, who were in the movie Maniac. And this is a awesome movie. It's not as good as Maniac, but it's a lot happier. And Joe Spinell has become one of my favorite actors, and this one kind of has a happy ending, and I like it a lot. Also, what's interesting about this movie is it's kind of like a self-aware horror comedy, and that's kind of what Scream was. And this movie has fake movies in it that are called Scream and Stab. And Stab was the name of the fake movie inside of Scream. So I'm guessing Wes Craven must have been a huge fan of this movie. I don't think he ripped it off. I think he was trying to pay homage or whatever that word is to this one. Alright, next up we got 1 Hour Photo. Again, I found this $3 at Big Lots. And this was Robin Williams being a complete creep in the photo booth of a 1 Hour Photo drugstore. And yeah, it's underrated. This was pretty good. It's a little thriller, whereas, Robin Williams, but different than anything I've ever seen him in. It's like the super crazy version of Mrs. Doubtfire or something. You know how sometimes people make that fake trailer, the horror version of Mrs. Doubtfire? Well, this is the real version of that. Alright. Okay, next up we got Lamberto Bava, Demons 2. People always think like Argento made these movies because its name is huge on it, but it's actually by Lamberto Bava. And Lamberto Bava, I think, is my favorite of the Italian horror directors, just because his style is kind of like a mix between Fulci and Argento. And, of course, his father, Mario Bava. But yeah, this is cool. I would recommend this to anyone who likes like Evil Dead or Return of the Living Dead. This is part 2. Part 1 is good also, but I kind of prefer part 2 a little bit. And basically, people are watching a movie about demons, which is based on Evil Dead. And yeah, they come out of the TV and start terrorizing everyone. Very cool movie. Alright, next up we got 3 O'Clock High. And this is a comedy based on, this is like an 80s comedy high school movie. And this one is underrated. This is about a kid who tries to talk to the new kid at school who's like this complete loner bully type of guy. And he ends up patting him on the shoulder, and the kid hates to be touched. So he throws him into a mirror and goes, "You and me are going to fight at 3 o'clock. And the whole movie after that is him trying to get out of the fight. And then the fight happens, and it's awesome. This movie is underrated. People, when they talk about like 80s comedies, always talk about like Breakfast Club or 16 Candles. I honestly don't like the John Hughes teen comedies all that much. They're okay, but I like 3 O'Clock High and Fast Times at Ridgemont High is my favorite one. Yeah, this movie is a shit. 3 O'Clock High. And what's funny too is the director wasn't even trying to like go for the style of those like John Hughes movies. He was trying to go for After Hours by Martin Scorsese, which is why the cinematography is all crazy in this. Alright, next up we got double feature Tales from the Crypt and the Vault of Horror. And this is like the Hammer version of the EC Comics movies. And yeah, these are both really good. I got this for Christmas and we watched both of these. My whole family watched both of them. And we were just dying laughing. Especially the Vault of Horror was good. So what it is in this one that's especially funny is there's all these guys gathered around a table inside of a tomb, and they're telling a dream that they keep having every night, and it all kind of relates or something. But one of them has no relevance to anything else. It's just like an absurd movie. So when his story ends, some guy goes, "It's preposterous. Why that particular story?" The way he said it, it was so funny. It made me laugh for like 10 minutes. I couldn't stop laughing. Just because it obviously had nothing to do with anything. And like, it had nothing to do with a dream or anything. And they just had to like tie it together somehow. It was really funny. Alright, next up we got the Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, everyone knows this shit. I always love the punks in this movie. He goes, you know, night, nice night for a walk, eh? Fuck you, asshole. You know, Bill Paxton. And the other guy is the bad guy from Cobra. Yeah. Out of the a lot of people prefer part 2. I actually like the first one a little bit better. This one has more of a gritty kind of feel, like a horror type of vibe. Yeah. I prefer part 1 over part 2. I also like the look of the Terminator with that gray jacket. Very cool. And as I said, it's got, you know, cameos from like Bill Paxton in there and the bad guy from Cobra as the punks. I always thought that scene was awesome. And Michael Biehn is underrated as an actor. He kills it in this movie. And the cinematography is really cool. I paused it at the part where Michael Bihn's like walking down the street after he escapes the cops. I paused it at that part. It looks like a painting. The cinematography looked like a painting in that scene. It's very cool. Alright, next up, we got Rocky. And so this, honestly, might be my favorite movie of all time. It has nothing to do with, like, horror. It's not even trashy at all, but it's just, like, one of my favorite movies. And when I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, I was real depressed. And I just watched Rocky like 300 times until I got over her. Yeah. Great list of characters. Maybe the only trashy thing about it is it's got Joe Spinell in it as Mr. Gazzo, the loan shark. And, yeah. Good movie. Last up, we got Maximum Overdrive. And I had this movie on VHS for years, but I love it so much. It's like, you know what? Let me get the Blu-ray. And, you know, basically it's like a zombie movie, but with trucks and technology and killer soda machines and stuff like that. And you got Emilio Estevez as the good guy, and, you know, the girl that plays Lisa Simpson, Yardley Smith is in it. Yeah, it's just awesome. And, you know, usually movies are written by Stephen King, and he did write this, but this one is also directed by him. I believe it's the only movie he's ever directed. And you got, for some reason, the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin's face is the main truck's face, I guess. I guess they just needed a face and they went with Green Goblin, but it's awesome. I always love the scene where the coach goes to buy his team sodas and it just starts shooting soda cans at him. I never got why the cars didn't come alive. Like, only trucks start trying to kill people, but cars don't for some reason. Very weird. Yeah, great movie.
Alright, you guys, thank you for watching. This has been Danny B with the Trash Stash Blu-ray collection video. Subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. Come on, hit that like button, all that stuff. Tell your friends, but most importantly, go check out all my other videos. Alright, I'm trying to make a buck over here. Alright, peace out, goodbye. Danny B is out.